I can confirm Meghan has a job. The Heritage Foundation's ongoing desire to prove Prince Harry lied on his immigration documents about his drug use is likely to have played a key role in this forced deportation.
The State Department is reviewing nearly 300 documents relating to Prince Harry's immigration application.
British public will not stand for it. Absolutely not stand for it.
Put a postcode on them and said return to sender.
Stop the boats.
Meghan Markle has barely begun preparing for a return to Britain, and already the entire Sussex story is exploding in 5 different directions at once. A new UK job for Meghan, fresh scrutiny around Harry's American immigration records, a brutal legal cost problem hanging over him, questions over who could end up paying for security, and, waiting back in Britain, a royal family that may be far less willing to play along than Harry and Meghan appear to hope.
This is just the start of a horror return.
Before we get into today's story, I wanted to let you know that I finally launched my Patreon. Many of you have been asking for more royal family content, so that's exactly what I'll be posting there. Exclusive investigations, bonus videos, breaking royal news, and members-only discussions that won't be available on YouTube. If you're interested, you'll find the link in the description. Now, let's get into today's story. So what exactly is going on here? Because this no longer looks like a simple move from California to Britain. It looks like a complete Sussex reset.
You don't just suddenly one day say you're coming back unless you've done some preparatory work. Nobody buys a house, or, off Facebook or off online. You've got to know what the property is. Maybe they had people, go and have a look at whatever house it is for them. And also getting the kids signed up for school. That is not something that you do online. Surely they will have taken some sort of care as to what schools the kids are going to.
And the first surprise is Meghan. Just as talk of a UK return started gathering speed, Meghan was suddenly linked to a new entertainment role based in Britain. Not next year, not after some long rebuilding process, right as the move itself became the biggest story around the couple.
There's a reason Meghan Markle has just signed a big bucks entertainment role, because her husband, Prince Harry, is facing financial ruin after this bombshell courtroom decision this afternoon.
That timing is impossible to ignore. The role has been described as an entertainment job, but the exact format remains unclear. It could be television. It could involve the lifestyle and food space Meghan has been pushing so hard.
It was actually all done after MasterChef Australia. That didn't even go well. They hated her on set.
Yeah, it makes me think she's dropping a little hint there. I think you said it as someone's backed her, or a show that she likes backed, and I think she put baked. Is she going to do another baking, like a cooking show? Is she going to, Dan, she's going to appear alongside Holly Willoughby.
Oh,
Could you-
God.
It could be a regular appearance rather than a traditional acting role. What matters right now is that Meghan suddenly appears to have a professional reason to spend serious time in the UK. And that changes the entire picture.
To me, it's all about trying to take away the growing suggestion that, well, of course there's trouble in the relationship, because otherwise there's no way that she would have agreed to return to the country that she hates.
For years, Harry was the one with the obvious emotional connection to Britain. Meghan built her post-royal identity around California, Hollywood, lifestyle projects, and the idea that she had moved on. Now, suddenly, Britain is not just Harry's destination. Meghan may have business waiting for her there too. Convenient? Absolutely.
And I wasn't joking about the jam coming over in the tanker. I'm sure she's going to be trying to sell the jam in this country, because that was apparently it was a plan of hers.
Especially because Meghan's latest television appearances have already pushed her closer to the entertainment world again. After all the attempts to build her own brand, her own shows, and her own business identity, the easier route may now be obvious. Step into an existing production, take a visible role, collect the publicity, and let someone else carry the entire machine.
Don't worry, Meghan is really coming back, because she has a huge role, which is just going to make her lots of money. And of course, she hasn't been forced to come back to the United Kingdom to save the marriage. No, of course not.
But Harry may have several answers of his own. Because while Meghan is suddenly finding opportunities in Britain, Harry's situation in America has become uncomfortable for a very different reason. The fight over his immigration records is still alive.
The State Department is reviewing nearly 300 documents relating to Prince Harry's immigration application. That's nearly 2,500 pages worth of documents.
Say that again.
An initial group of 18 documents was reviewed and not released. The wider effort to obtain more of the material has not simply disappeared. Now, this needs to be said clearly. That does not prove Harry did anything wrong. It does not mean he is being forced out of America. And it does not mean anyone can honestly say today that his status has been cancelled.
The Heritage Foundation's ongoing desire to prove Prince Harry lied on his immigration documents about his drug use is likely to have played a key role in this forced deportation.
But it does mean the issue is not dead. And that is exactly why the timing of this UK return becomes so fascinating. If Harry's American future were completely calm, completely boring, and completely settled, the immigration story would be background noise. Instead, hundreds of documents are still being reviewed while Harry is simultaneously looking toward Britain again. Coincidence? Maybe. But how many coincidences can land in the same week before people start asking questions?
The whole thing is rushed because Harry and Meghan had no idea what the feds were up to when the feds started to investigate all of the papers that he submitted starting on the 11th of August. And today is now the 20th of August. So we're speaking about 8 or 9 days. So obviously the whole thing is rushed because the axe is in danger of dropping.
Meghan gets a UK entertainment opportunity. Harry turns back toward Britain. His immigration records remain under review. And then, as if that were not enough, another problem crashes into the story. Money. Harry has just been hit by a major legal cost ruling in the case involving Associated Newspapers.
The judge in his case against the Daily Mail has decided, and this is the right decision, by the way, I back him 100%, that the costs will be uncapped, meaning that Harry and his bunch of hapless celebrities, including Elton John, could be on the hook for £34.5 million.
The claimants were ordered to make an interim payment of £9.5 million, while the costs were left uncapped. The final amount remains to be determined through the costs process, and the huge figures being discussed are not Harry's personal bill alone. That distinction matters.
But I then wonder how the other claimants feel about Harry now. Can you imagine?
Because they didn't sign it.
They didn't sign it. But if it's affected all of them because of Harry running his mouth off.
Nobody should pretend Harry personally woke up owing the entire £34.5 million figure being thrown around. His exact individual exposure is not settled. The interim payment is for the claimant side, and insurance is expected to cover at least that immediate payment. But none of that makes the ruling comfortable.
For Harry, this is as bad as it could be. He has lost comprehensively, been told by the court that he pursued the claims unreasonably to a high degree, and now faces potential liability of $45 million with a $12.4 million down payment due within days. Good thing Meghan has the acting job.
The ceiling has not been neatly fixed. The costs argument continues. An appeal decision also carries its own risk. And Harry is now staring at another potentially expensive legal chapter after years in which lawsuits, security battles, and legal disputes have repeatedly followed him. Suddenly, Meghan's mystery UK paycheck looks a lot more interesting, doesn't it?
I think they're desperate. I think they're desperate because they run out of any hope of conquering Hollywood. They're isolated in America. I think the money is running down. And I think as well that Harry is terribly concerned that he could lose his titles. I think he's desperate about his status in Britain. And he's lonely in America.
Again, that does not mean she took a job to pay Harry's lawyers. Nobody can establish that. But when a couple is facing another major financial question at exactly the same moment, one spouse suddenly lines up new work, the timing becomes part of the story whether they like it or not. And this is where the Sussex return starts looking less like a glamorous homecoming and more like a giant financial reshuffle.
This vile guy and about how vile he has been in regards to the family he claims to now care about.
Just physically being in California, how have you processed the fact that there's so much happening back with your family where you come from?
I have my own family,
right?
So as we all do,
yeah.
right? So, my family and my life in California is as it is.
Scumbag. He doesn't give a damn about anyone here.
California is expensive. Their security is expensive. Maintaining a major home is expensive. Any additional property or long-term base in Europe is expensive. A serious UK setup would be expensive too. So, how many expensive lives can one couple fund at the same time? Montecito, Britain, possible ties elsewhere in Europe, private security, travel, staff, legal bills, business projects that need money before they make money.
Well, this is a private matter. It's a matter for Harry and for Meghan, and we wish them well in the move that they're making.
No, we don't. No, we don't. And it's not private. It's literally the definition of public.
Something has to give. And Harry and Meghan may have discovered that Britain gives them one thing America never fully could: instant relevance. But there is a catch. Coming back to Britain is not the same thing as being welcomed back into royal life. Harry and Meghan may be planning a move, but the royal door appears to be much more complicated than simply arriving with suitcases and expecting everything to reset.
It's 6 a.m. on the 14th of March, and we are on the Freedom flight. We are leaving Canada, and we are headed to Los Angeles. Grandma's here. Hey, Grandma. Brutus here, with a ball in her mouth.
Why don't you say hi? You're about to go where Mommy's
So busy.
Even the question of where they could live has turned into a fight. Windsor has been floated as an obvious possibility, but one report claims William has made it clear that Windsor is not an option he wants for the Sussexes. Other possibilities have included the Cotswolds, or somewhere closer to the Spencer side of Harry's family. Think about how extraordinary that is.
She is a narcissist. She's not going to handle being booed. She's not going to like people being negative about her. She's not going to get a good reception. Harry struggles to get a good reception. And this is why they have carefully controlled crowds wherever they go. You know, like we saw in Australia, they had a small segment of Sydney Opera House, nothing like the real royals got, or even when they went over there, but it's done so the camera angles make it look like there's crowds of people around them.
Harry is not even fully back yet, and there are already questions over which parts of royal Britain he can get close to. That is the real battle. Not whether Harry can physically live in the UK. Of course he can. The bigger question is whether he can slowly rebuild the appearance of royal life without officially becoming a working royal again, because imagine the strategy.
And she needs to rebrand herself and get back to being the full-on Duchess of Sussex as much as she can be. So I think there's a degree of cynicism about it, but I can see what they're trying to achieve, which is being able to, you say they're members of the royal family, but on their own terms.
Harry returns. He attaches himself to major charities. He appears at public events. He reconnects with causes that once formed part of his royal identity. Cameras follow him. Headlines call him Prince Harry. The public sees royal-looking engagements even if the palace insists he is private. Then what? On paper, he is not a working royal.
There's no way that she can survive without him and his status. And she herself is humiliated by her failures. So it makes sense for them to come back to Britain. But whether the royal family really is going to welcome them, I must say I doubt.
On television, he begins to look like one again. That is where the so-called half-in, half-out problem can return without anyone ever formally announcing it. And Meghan benefits from that proximity too. Her value has always been higher when the royal connection is visible. Meghan in California has to fight for attention in a celebrity market packed with bigger stars. The Duchess back in Britain automatically becomes a national story before she has even done anything.
And whether we like it or not, the slightly bad-boyed image that he's created is perhaps more interesting than the royal family just quietly going about their business. So I think the royal family will be, at the moment, deeply frustrated, and particularly William, because they'll be thinking, what's behind this? What is they need?
That is a very different business position. So if Harry can rebuild his royal image through charities, appearances, and proximity, and Meghan can build an entertainment role alongside it, the Sussexes do not actually need the palace to hand them their old jobs back. They only need enough access to make the public wonder whether they are halfway back already.
Of course there are finances involved in this decision. Of course King Charles's health is involved in this decision. But the overarching thing is that they're deeply unhappy and the marriage is in trouble.
And that is exactly why the resistance matters. William does not need to dominate this story. He only needs to be the wall standing in front of Harry and Meghan's plan. If Windsor is blocked, that matters because it limits Sussex proximity. If formal royal duties are blocked, that matters because Harry needs another route to relevance.
Last year, he claimed there was no logistical way for him to return to the UK because of what some people in this country had done.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything. You know, I love my country. I always have done, despite what some people in that country have done.
If the royal family keeps a hard distinction between private family contact and official public roles, that matters because the Sussex brand gains far less from a quiet private return. So the question is not, what does William want? The question is, how far can Harry and Meghan push before the door closes? There is also the housing question, and that could become a story all by itself. If Windsor is off the table, Harry and Meghan need another base that still feels close enough to the royal world to matter.
I can confirm Meghan has a job. The identity of the show is not yet clear, but it allows Harry at last to get her buy-in for his growing desire to get the hell out of paradise and go home to the world he understands.
The Cotswolds has been discussed. Northamptonshire, closer to the Spencer side of Harry's family, has been floated too. Charles Spencer's relationship with Harry makes that possibility especially interesting, even if nothing final has been established. But notice the pattern again. Every option raises the same question. Are Harry and Meghan looking for an ordinary private home, or are they looking for a location that keeps them close to the royal spotlight? Those are not the same thing.
The big block is Prince William and Catherine, who under no circumstances, in my view, would allow these traitors, these lecturers, to get their way back into the royal family. I don't believe for a moment that Harry and Meghan will be on the Sandringham Christmas walk. It would be absolutely inconceivable. And I don't think the king would even allow them to do that because they're not working royals.
A quiet house far away would give them privacy. A carefully chosen base near royal territory gives them visibility, access, and constant speculation. Guess which one is better for the Sussex brand? And then we get to security. Because security is not just a personal issue for Harry, it is potentially a massive financial issue. Harry has spent years challenging the arrangements surrounding his protection in Britain.
That I won't be able to show, my children my homeland.
It's amazing what running out of money does.
Private protection can cost millions over time. If living in the UK, carrying out visible charitable work, or taking on any semi-official activity strengthens his argument for greater protection, that could change the economics of the entire move. But again, there is a line we cannot cross. There is no confirmed basis to say Harry has already secured taxpayer-funded protection simply because he may return. What we can say is that the fight is not going away, and if public money ever becomes part of the arrangement, the backlash could be ferocious.
Put a postcode on them and said return to sender. If you can't find out where they belong, return them to us. We don't want them returned to us. Send them somewhere else. Send them bloody anywhere else.
Stop the boats. That picture, we're broke, so we're back. Yeah, true.
Because the British public may be the biggest obstacle of all. One poll cited around the return claimed opposition to Harry and Meghan coming back was as high as 84% among those surveyed. Whatever anyone thinks of one poll, the wider problem is obvious. This is not a couple returning to universal applause. What happens at the first major public appearance? Do they get cheers? Do they get silence? Do they get booed?
So look at this. From the New York Post, our long national nightmare is over, they declared. And there's been a lot of this. Cat Turd writing, great, get the F out of our country, grifters, two of the most least impressive, no talented people on planet Earth. We don't want you here, never wanted you here, see ya.
Meghan can sign a UK entertainment deal. Harry can reconnect with charities. They can rent the perfect house, hire the perfect team, and stage the perfect arrival. But they cannot control thousands of people standing behind barriers. And that is where the Sussex comeback could become humiliating very quickly. Because a royal-style return only works if the crowd helps sell the image.
There was a poll this morning about the move, and 84% of people in the UK involved in this poll said, we don't want Harry and Meghan to be here.
Imagine the cameras waiting for Meghan's big British appearance after years away. The outfit is perfect. The entrance is planned. The publicity machine is ready. Then the crowd reaction becomes the headline instead. That is the risk they cannot edit out. And it makes Harry's push for a royal-adjacent role even more dangerous. The closer he moves toward official-looking public life, the more exposed both of them become to direct public reaction.
But Harry is lying. Meghan is lying. We must not forget they hate us. And I'm not exaggerating. They hate us for voting for Brexit, which they think makes us racist. They hate us for loving Prince William and Princess Catherine, the biggest victims in all of this. And it was never meant to be this way.
And the public reaction matters for another reason. Meghan's new job depends on attention. Harry's charity role depends on public legitimacy. Their entire comeback depends on the idea that Britain is once again prepared to watch them as important figures. If the first months are dominated by anger over security costs, awkward crowds, and arguments over royal access, the comeback story could turn against them before Meghan's new project even has a chance to launch.
This has been a plan that's been underway for some time. This is not suddenly, you know, them sitting there having a quiet drink in the evening, saying, well, why don't we just move? Let's go back. You know, something has happened to persuade Meghan that it's worth it to come and live in the UK.
And there is another reason this job matters. Meghan has spent months trying to make the lifestyle version of herself stick. Food, hosting, glossy appearances, carefully controlled television moments. All of it has pushed her further away from the old actress identity and toward a new on-screen personality.
There's no way that she's suddenly got an acting job that's so big for her. This is so huge. It justifies her moving, giving up California, giving up all of her friends. She's finally got in with a set, you know, multi-millionaires that let her use their private jets and their holiday homes. And she's coming over for a little acting job. She couldn't get work while she was in America, Dan. I mean, living in LA.
That means a British entertainment role does not need to be a giant drama series to matter. Even a recurring television slot could give her exactly what she has been missing: regular visibility without carrying an entire show on her back. Would that be glamorous enough for the headlines? Maybe not. Would it be useful? Extremely. And if the job keeps her in Britain at the exact moment Harry is trying to rebuild his own position there, suddenly two separate careers start pointing in the same direction.
To me, it smells like divorce. Meghan hates the UK, and the feeling is largely returned. She won't want to leave California and her friends. None of it makes sense outside the separation. Nancy Sidley adding, I agree. This has divorce written all over it.
But before anyone starts calling this Meghan's grand British comeback, there is one enormous problem. We still do not know what this job actually is. That means the hype is running far ahead of the details. A major acting role? Nobody has established that. A cooking or lifestyle appearance? Possible. A television slot? Possible. Something much smaller than the dramatic headlines suggest? Also possible. Still, Meghan having any UK-based entertainment work at all would solve one awkward problem immediately. Why would she agree to return to a country she spent years keeping at arm's length? Now she has an answer.
Meghan leaking the news of this entertainment return seems to me to be to try and take away the growing suggestions of trouble in the marriage. Because, of course, if she did have no work lined up here, it makes it abundantly clear that she is having to do something she didn't want to do. So by being able to say, oh, there's a big job, but she's not revealing what the job is, she's not revealing how long the job is. I mean, what, is she going to be an EastEnders? I mean, otherwise it's going to be a particularly short shoot. You know, if you're doing a movie, unless she's really committed to like a big TV series, but that seems unlikely.
So why do it? Why leave the comfort, privacy, and sunshine of California for all of this? That question is where the entire story finally comes together. America was supposed to be the place where Harry and Meghan proved they never needed royal life again. They had the mansion, the streaming deals, the interviews, the celebrity connections, the businesses, the brand launches, the chance to build something completely separate from the monarchy.
Why are they moving back?
The cynic in me says because America's been an unmitigated disaster.
But years later, what is still the strongest thing attached to both of their names? Royalty. Harry is still most valuable because he is a prince. Meghan is still most visible because she is the Duchess of Sussex. Every time their independent projects struggle to dominate the conversation, the royal connection drags them back into relevance. Britain gives them immediate access to that oxygen. For Harry, it gives him familiarity, causes he understands, and a status he has never truly replaced in America.
I think it's all designed exactly that, to show, look, we are still very much, we are members of the royal family, not working royals, but look, I am going to be the brother of the future king. So that is very much part and parcel of his modus operandi.
For Meghan, a UK entertainment job gives her something she previously lacked, her own excuse to be there. That is why this move may not have one single explanation. It may be the result of everything arriving at once. Harry's immigration records remain a live question. Legal costs have become another financial headache. Their lifestyle continues to demand serious money. Harry wants stronger ties to Britain. Meghan suddenly has a possible professional role there. And royal proximity offers both of them publicity that California no longer guarantees.
Personalities here in the UK are not accepting the return to sender approach, with Katie Hopkins losing it in a hilarious manner upon learning of the news this morning.
We're waking up to the brilliant news that Prince Harry, formerly known as Prince, is going to come back to the UK. Oh yes, with trailer trash Meghan Markle. Having failed spectacularly at everything they've ever tried to do in America, including start businesses, be quasi-royals and hand out soup in kitchens to Palestinian women and try to be celebrities, that failed. Now, with their tail between their legs, they plan on coming back to the UK to use the only leverage they have left, which is that Harry used to be a royal. They're not even going to be working royals. They're just going to rock up and get free housing.
That combination is far more convincing than one dramatic theory by itself. And yes, there is still the marriage question, but this is exactly where we should not exaggerate. Harry has repeatedly appeared far more emotionally connected to Britain than Meghan. Meghan, meanwhile, spent years building a life that pointed in the opposite direction. That difference was always going to create practical tension if Harry seriously wanted to return. A UK job for Meghan does not prove the marriage was in crisis. It does not prove the move is designed to save it. But it does solve a very obvious problem.
Like, they are officially together, but the marriage is in deep trouble. They've been deeply unhappy for some time. The new acting job's so intriguing. When I sat down with them both on their engagement for that interview, one of my questions was whether she was really prepared to give up the career she had built. And the point is, she just doesn't have a choice now.
Harry wants Britain. Meghan now has a reason to be in Britain too. Suddenly, the couple no longer need to choose between his preferred world and hers. At least on paper, they can try to have both. The bigger question is whether Britain will allow them to have both. Because the Sussexes appear to want the impossible combination again: private independence, celebrity money, royal status, public relevance, serious security, and the freedom to operate on their own terms. Can all of that exist at the same time? That is the gamble.
They have been planning. They have been plotting. They didn't even tell the king? This has echoes of Megxit.
Meghan may have found a new job, Harry may have found a route home, but the problems are already stacking up before the moving boxes are even packed. His immigration records are still under scrutiny, his legal costs could remain painful, their lifestyle is expensive, security could become another public fight, royal access may be tightly controlled. Windsor may not be waiting, and the British public may be preparing a welcome very different from the one the Sussexes would want on camera. So this is not simply Meghan and Harry coming back to Britain. This is Meghan and Harry testing whether they can rebuild everything they walked away from without surrendering anything they gained after leaving.
Nothing's really stuck. So actually, he's got to go back to what he knows best, which is come back to Britain and try and cash in somehow, whether it is doing charity work. But how's he going to earn a living? Because this is going to be an expensive still lifestyle.
A British job for Meghan, royal relevance for Harry, celebrity freedom for both, security, status, money, attention. They want the whole package. But what if Britain only offers them a fraction of it? What if Meghan's new job is much smaller than the hype? What if Harry's royal comeback stops at private family meetings and charity appearances? What if the security fight gets louder? What if the first crowd reaction turns the comeback into another public relations disaster? And what if, after 6 years of trying to prove they could build a bigger life outside the monarchy, Harry and Meghan are now returning to the one place that reminds everyone exactly why they became famous in the first place? That is what makes this return so explosive. They are not just changing countries, they are putting the entire Sussex experiment on trial. If you enjoyed this video and want even more royal family content, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I'm uploading exclusive investigations, bonus content, and members-only videos that won't be released on YouTube. I'll be adding new content regularly. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to everything, the link is in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.